Welcome to the RoadiD Studios. This is the Gravelot, part of the Wide Angle Podium Network. And according to 2 out of 2 hosts of this show, you have discovered the best podcast on the internet. My name is John.
My name is Doug, and the Gravelot starts with a common connection of bikes, but it is a lot more than that to us.
We absolutely love the entire community around cycling, and we consider it, honestly, our chosen family.
Yeah.
But just like you are more than just a cyclist, the people we talk to on the show are absolutely no different than that.
No, 0% difference. So we talk about the things around bikes, and we talk about bikes.
Sometimes bikes.
We talk a lot about bikes.
Yeah. Okay.
Mostly. But we do talk about life because that's what surrounds all of this. So welcome to all of the Pebbles, old and new. Head on over to wideanglepodium.com if you are not yet a member and become a Wide Angle Podium or WAP member today. Just make sure that while you're there and you're signing up to become a Wide Angle Podium member, select the Gravelot to make sure you support this show, because support is important to us, and it would mean the absolute world to us and allow us to produce more of this.
Absolutely. So hit up wideanglepodium.com, download the Wide Angle Podium app on Google Play, Apple, all of the places
any of those
where things are.
Very useful.
And it is instant content right to your phone. You don't have to go find it. So no matter what your donation, if you choose to become a member, it all goes towards helping us bring this show to your ears each and every week. And as Doug said, and I will reiterate it, it would mean the absolute world to us.
Yeah, and speaking of supporting things, which is important.
So this week's episode of TGL is being brought to you by our friends at Works Tools. So I think that's a very important distinction to make. So it's now Works Tools.
Yes, the whole company is behind this.
And they have agreed, so thank you to Works Tools, who have agreed to stay on board for the next 6 months. So we are going to be featuring a lot more of their products.
Yes.
But I think more importantly, or tangentially importantly, or equally importantly, or whatever the verbiage is.
Whatever. Which one?
2 out of 2 guests.
2 out of 2 guests agree.
We're going to be bringing you more discounts as well for all of those products.
Exactly. So there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff rolling out, so keep it locked here and don't be like, great, awesome, Works is sponsoring for the next 6 months. I already bought a Hydra shot. Right? I'm going to just ignore. No, there's more cool stuff coming.
Buy one for your wife for Christmas.
So now you have 2 Hydra shots.
Sure.
You guys can, or buy one for the kids, and you guys can have like water gun battles.
That would be the best water fight ever.
I put my dad. Don't put yours on 0 degrees. That hurts.
But it would also make making the backyard ice rink quicker.
Correct, indeed. This wintry season, but until such time as we have special deals on other tools, we still want to tell you about the Works Hydra Shot because it has been the flagship of their cycling, inoculation, instigation, in I don't know, they've
jumping in with both feet.
Yeah.
Let's use some regular people talk.
I don't know. I'm trying to use some 25-cent words. It's been a long day. I want to use my 25-cent words. But it is awesome, the Works Hydra Shot. If you have not heard us talking about it, I don't know where you've been, but we are so proud that this has been a thing, and we really believe in this tool. It is probably the ultimate tool for cycling enthusiasts.
Right. It's a portable power cleaner at 320 PSI. So just for reference, the regular hose bib coming out of your house is 70 to 80 PSI. So
if it's calibrated correctly, not like John's.
Was.
It's
not anymore. Now
Correct.
Mine's accurate.
Good.
But it's 5 times the pressure of a garden hose. But it's also not enough to ruin headset bearings, to ruin bottom bracket
strip
bearings.
Paint, do any of that sort of stuff.
It's not,
clear coat. No, it's
not
nice.
going to hurt that stuff. So it's going to clean your bike. It's going to clean your siding. It's going to clean your gutters. It's going to clean all of that stuff. But it doesn't require a hose.
Doesn't require gas.
Yeah.
You can charge the
batteries.
Yeah, this is great. And it can pull from any water source. So if you have a hose pipe and you want to put a hose on it and go around the house and do that or clean your bike that way, go for it, right? But if you just got a 5-gallon bucket or you got to get someplace that's hard to get to, or you want to take it and put it on your boat, or you want to fill up a 5-gallon bucket and take it to a cross race or to the mountain bike trailhead or wherever, you can absolutely wash just directly from that, or a 2-liter bottle or anything. Great attachments that allow you to wash your bike anywhere you go.
Yeah, and I think it's the 5-angle settings on the nozzle.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And tons of accessories all over the yourcleanbike.com website.
I used it to clean a bike share station.
Bingo.
It did really good.
It's your clean bike.
It's Share Station.
Bikes, whatever.
Maybe they need to make a new website. It's yourcleanbikesharestation.com, and they can sell it to all the bike shares.
Might have just discovered a new revenue stream for Works Tools.
Can we go purchase that domain before they get it?
Sure.
Okay, quick.
Go do it now before this gets published.
Before this gets published, go get Your Clean Bike Share.
All about sharing the ideas.
Absolutely. But
IP.
you should...
IP.
You,
Claim the IP.
TM. But what you should actually do is go to yourcleanbike.com and pick up the special deal that they have for all of our listeners, which is what, John?
Works is offering our listeners 15% off all of the Hydro Shots and all of the accessories. So if you haven't gotten your Hydro Shot yet,
you can get more accessories.
You can go get the Hydro Shot and all of the accessories. Or if you have the 20 volt and you're like, I need more power.
Gas this thing up.
I need to goose it a little bit.
Yeah.
Go up to 450 watts with the 40 volt.
Yep, you can do that
Not
too.
450 watts. That'd be crazy.
450. You can attach it to your bike on Zwift and then just go.
Yes, I know. We just got done talking about Zwift with a guest for a coming show. But 450 PSI.
Yeah.
I'm going to get this read correct. So pick out anything on the website, 15% off. They even put together a bike cleaning kit specifically for you guys to check out. And that website, again, if you haven't picked it up, it's not Your Clean Bike Share kiosk, whatever Doug said it was. TM, whatever. The website is yourcleanbike.com, and the promo code is cleanbike, and that is 15% off everything at the website.
To be 100% clear, it is yourcleanbike.com, and you enter the code CLEANBIKE at checkout. And we hope to see you riding on the trails this winter, riding hard and riding clean.
So let's talk about this week's guest a little bit before we press play.
So first,
a lot's happened.
Yeah, a ton's happened. And, I mean, just go to Cross Results, and you can look up all the things.
This week's guest has a new tattoo since we talked to her.
Yeah, tons of really cool stuff going on. I was listening as I was editing this episode. I was like, man, we've had this episode in the can for a while. So first, I want to apologize to all of you for having to wait so long to get this content. But this show is so much fun and so good. The stories we talk about,
yes.
The things we hear about, fireplaces and hookahs and all sorts of crazy things. It's a really good trip for everybody, and I had a really fun time putting this one together. I hope everyone really enjoys listening. And you know what? I don't think there's a better way to really kick off for us.
Nationals weekend.
Yeah. It's Cyclocross Nationals weekend. You're all there. This person's there. I mean, we want you to enjoy this and then go up and give her a hard time about all the things you learned about her on this show. So without further ado, let's roll into this interview. So joining us today here in the RoadiD studios, we have none other than a racer who is near and dear to our hearts and kind of like tangentially attached to the wide-angle podium.
We're going to claim her as our own.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, because she's sponsored by Grimpeur Brothers. She has her own freaking coffee.
Yep.
Which is pretty awesome. She is definitely a runner who is good at bikes and a biker that's good at running. Mm-hmm. She's proved that repeatedly. Finished second at the it was 2018?
2018.
Right? 20. I always get confused because they mess up the dates. But the 2018...
Well, now they made it easier because it was actually in 2018.
So the 2018 U.S. Cyclocross National Championships in Louisville. None other than Pactimo, Colorado Cyclocross team member, Sonny Gilbert. Sonny, welcome to the Gravel Lot.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, we are stoked to have you. Thanks for coming out on an early, rainy morning before you go dominate the running field here in Cincinnati.
You know, it's like coming home. I stepped out the door this morning and I was like, oh, it's a Missouri rain.
Yeah, I mean, it is. You've recently relocated to Colorado, right? You and the Doug.
Yeah, and I kind of beg for rain occasionally. It's like, wouldn't it be great if it rained a little bit and then the roads would be a little less silty?
Yeah, for sure. So you have a really interesting story, I think, that if people aren't familiar with kind of your path and whatnot, I think there's a lot to be learned from what you've done and where you're at now and what you're doing, because it's kind of unique, and I think we want to touch on that. But you know what we're going to ask you, because I know you are a faithful Pebble, and we appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Yes, shout out to all Pebbles.
All
I
Pebbles.
hear you.
Yeah, no, we hear. Well, hopefully they're going to hear us, right?
Yeah, now today it's
Quite
going to be
literally.
weird. I don't know if I'll listen to this one
You can
myself.
You can have Doug listen to it and be like, was it okay? Was it good? Yeah, it was good. But we want to ask how you found bikes. How did bikes, and more importantly, what was the journey to find them as not just a passion, but something that you're doing at a professional level?
Oh, for me, finding bikes was all about community. It really was. I mean, growing up in Missouri, I always had a bike and used it to get around. Like my mom got tired of taking me to swim class at 5:30 in the morning. And so
justifiably so.
Justifiably so. So, a bicycle showed up. Hey, isn't it great? You now have this bike. And now you can ride yourself to swim class.
Look at this great thing I did for you.
Yeah, no, it was really
Here's
fantastic.
a new vacuum cleaner.
Yeah. And then, always kind of had a bike was always there. Growing up, I had a couple of different iterations. I had the banana seat bike with the red sparkly handles and the streamers on the side.
I had a banana seat bike.
Yeah.
It was blue bass boat.
Yeah, you and I we've had so many people on the show that basically have had that exact same bike. And there's like the blue or the red, so you're team red.
No, I was team red, and the first thing I did was ride it down the street and do a Look Mom No Hands episode, and then the front wheel went right into a gutter, and I endoed and scraped up everything. So that was day one.
So your first ride was very similar to mine. I've told that story on the show
for
before.
sure.
I rode right under my dad's truck, right under his work truck, hit the grill, and went right underneath it.
The bike goes where it wants to go sometimes.
Or where you're looking, I believe, or not holding on. Yeah.
Yeah. So I always have bikes in the background. I had the bike that you get from like the department store that has the spray paint on it. The black with the the neon spray colors and
splatter paint.
Doug still owns one of those.
Yeah. Oh, do you really?
Yeah, it's but it was a Cannondale. It was like legit, but yeah, it was black with white splattered paint and hot pink letters.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I break it out every once in a while. It is still a wicked cool bike.
Mine was not that cool. I'm pretty sure it was like a Huffy or something.
Well, this was the one that I saved up on my lawn mowing money for. So.
Okay. Yeah, no, the first bike that I bought cost $25. It was a purple Schwinn, and it was a 10-speed with down tube shifters. And the reason I bought it is because my dad pulled me aside right before I was going to college and said, we're going to let your little sister have the car for her senior year of high school. So that means you're not going to have a car.
At college.
At college.
Ouch.
And I was like, okay, then. That's cool. I don't need one. That's fine.
Where'd you go to school?
Mizzou.
Oh, Mizzou.
University of Missouri, Columbia. Went there basically to run track.
The T-Grays.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Basically went there to run track and cross country. Kind of was a walk-on to the team because they offered scholarship, but it wasn't enough to cover like to offset my academics. So I was like, just let me come out for the team. So I walked on. And, was recruited, walked on. And by my junior year, I was on full scholarship at Mizzou.
That's awesome.
I ran my way into a full scholarship
and
on the team.
What was your event?
Oh, yeah, you're going to love this. 800 meters. Yep.
Really?
Yeah. I pretty much had about 2 minutes.
Right.
Right.
That was it. Yeah. I was just going to say, it's like, 2 minutes and you're done. Yeah.
Right. And but my coach liked to joke that I was the longest distance 800-meter runner in the country. Because I did cross country, and he would yell things at me when I was racing cross country because I was like the fifth man, right, on the cross country team.
Yeah.
And our cross country team was really good. Made it to nationals all 4 years.
Wow.
1 year we got 11th.
Wow, that's good.
I was like the fifth. I was always just kind of like the fifth man who would show up and score enough points to help get the bump, kind of thing. And he would yell at me. He would stand at about a half mile to go, and he'd be like, "See, and now it's your race." And I was like, forget the 2.5 miles I've already run to get to this point.
Right.
This is now my race.
Right.
I'm already blown up. I appreciate you. Stop. You're heckling me. That's like preparation for cyclocross.
I know. This feels eerily similar to Louisville in 2018.
Well,
it's about the same event.
One of my best races, though, this is pretty funny. So I don't know if you're familiar with a racer named Hazel Clark, but when I was in college, she was the it girl, 800-meter runner, best in the country, just amazing. Her sister-in-law, Gerald Miles Clark, is one of the most decorated track and field athletes in the country. And so I remember because she actually showed up as the 5th man for her team that year at Nationals. And she was right in front of me. And my coach yells, Hazel Clark is right there. You could beat her.
Hazel hears you, is like, nah.
And of course, I would never have the opportunity to beat her on the track, but I was just like, ooh.
This is an opportunity.
This is an opportunity.
Did you beat her?
I don't even remember.
That part I've forgotten.
That part I forgot, but I just remember I was just like, I was like, that is incredibly motivating. I will run my ass off right now.
Well, clearly you ran hard enough that you don't even remember what happened. So must have left it all out there.
So then back to the bike journey. I got injured my senior year. I got a stress fracture in a shin, and it wasn't because I was overtraining or anything. I actually fell down the stairs and hit a fireplace. Concrete fireplace.
I was going to be like, how was this from overtraining? Because Ellen had one of those, and then you're no.
Yeah,
we're not.
So I'm just going to paint a picture with the facts that we have, and you can tell me if I'm accurate or not. So you're in college.
I'm in college.
You fell down the stairs.
Yeah.
And
ran into a concrete fireplace.
Yeah. Was any sort of adult beverage involved? Okay.
It was the most.
So that's good, because that's where I was going with that. I was like, you fell down the stairs in college. Like, I know what that is.
No, I was very focused in college. I was super straight.
Maybe just not on grace.
With the exception of one night.
One night. And it was the night of the fireplace incident.
It was the one night, and it will never happen again. I just cracked my shin, and it just turned into a stress fracture. And it was fall. It was gorgeous outside. Couldn't run. They put me on a stationary bike in the training room, facing a wall.
That's so exciting.
And it was great. 2 days in, I went to the local triathlon store in Columbia, Missouri, and I said, "What do you got? I've got $700.
Put me on
something. Put me on a road bike,
yeah.
anything." And they put me on a Diamondback road bike.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah,
That's my first. My first cross bike was a Diamondback.
It was crazy heavy, but it had 2 wheels. It had brakes. It had bikes. Yeah, and they were like, "Yeah, it comes with a maintenance plan." I was like, "Fantastic! I'm going to be using that
a lot."
A lot, because I almost immediately started riding this bike off-road.
Right. Well, why not?
Because the best place to ride in Columbia is on gravel trail, rails to trails, like the Katy Trail. And
there's a ton of that.
That MKT. And so I had this road bike, and it seemed, good enough. The tires were good enough to go ride them off-road all the time.
Well, this is the thing. We talked about it the other day with Jay and Matt about the guys that put on Blackport Gravel Grinder here in Ohio, and they're like, we have people ride fat bikes on gravel. We have people riding comfort bikes and road bikes. Like, whatever bike is the right bike. Like, you can ride. You could ride a road bike on mountain bike trails. Like, go to YouTube. You can watch videos of people doing that. Like,
it's got tires.
They roll.
It doesn't matter. They roll. Yeah. No, I was doing just the same loop over and over and over again. And then a buddy of mine was like, "Hey, we're going to ride our bikes over to this winery. You should come with us." And that's how I found that I was like, "Well, I have this road bike." And they're like, "Yeah, it's totally fine." And so that's how I figured out you could ride your bike not on road, a road bike not on road. So then after that, I had this road bike, and I started watching different triathlons. I had a elementary school teacher who did one of the first Ironman events.
Oh, cool.
I know. And she sent a coconut back to the school, and I was in like 3rd grade.
And
I just remember this coconut that she had written on, Ironman, that she had done the Ironman. And I always was like, what is that thing that she did? Right. That was super crazy. So I started getting into like watching Ironman and thinking, I could do one.
And at that point, did you have in third grade? Did you have any semblance of what that accomplishment was?
Well, so I was a swimmer, and I was getting into running, and I had a bike. And so, as part of like PE class, she put on like this mini
Ironman,
like Iron Kids triathlon event.
Oh, that's so cool! What a cool, that's so forward thinking. That's awesome.
And so we, me and a bunch of my classmates did this thing that she put on to kind of demonstrate what she was working on. So I did like a little Iron Kids event.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
So you started watching and doing research on that and looking at it in a more serious way?
Yeah, so I was still I quit swimming when I was like 15 or 16 because I was doing track full time, but I was still running. And then when I got the road bike and got really into road biking again, it just seemed pretty natural. The problem was I was still a sponsored athlete for track and field. And, there's kind of when you're D1 track, there's kind of a moratorium on things you can and cannot do.
Right.
But I constantly was like pushing that line a little bit.
Just don't tell anybody.
Right. Like I'd go home for a weekend and I'd race a 5K. And then, a couple months later, it'd appear in like a local running magazine and I'd get this call from my coach. Hey, I heard you did a 5K back in January. Is that on your training plan? I was like, I don't know.
So is it?
I mean, I was just, I went out because I needed to stretch my legs.
Yeah.
There just happened to be a bunch of people on the same route I was.
It was weird.
It was the craziest thing. Yeah.
We all started at the same time. It was wild.
It was a flash 5K.
Flash mob, yeah.
Pre-social media, they knew I was going to be there.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, so then it was, I guess, my junior year of college, and there was this basketball player who I don't know if you've ever heard of Brock Olivo, but it was his sister, Daisy Olivo, was a basketball player at Mizzou. Really good basketball player. She wanted to do a triathlon. And we were talking like the week before, and she said, yeah, I'm going to do this triathlon this weekend. You should do it. And I was like, no, I'm supposed to do a 12-mile long run. It's on the calendar. I'm probably not going to be able to do the triathlon. Well, morning of, I was like, oh, man, that just sounds really fun. I'd rather do a triathlon than a 12-mile run. So I had a swimsuit. I had my bicycle. I had running shoes, and I had goggles, and I showed up. And I signed up, and I ended up doing this triathlon, and I got third, I think, overall. But it was hysterical because the swim, I came out one of the top women. And then I hit the bike, and at the time I was on a hybrid bike. I wasn't on my road bike yet. And I was wearing running shoes, and I had all these women blowing by me in aero bars with disc wheels and things like that. And I was pedaling my ass off because I think I had 5 gears on that bike at the time. I had bought, in between my 10-speed Schwinn and my road bike, I had bought this 125 Stinson Marin.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Which was just my get-around town bike.
Yeah.
And that was the bike that I rode 21 miles on a triathlon.
Nice.
On.
I'm just envisioning this, like all of our experiences we have on our local bike trail where there's people out. Mm-hmm. The speed limit's 20, but there's people that don't pay attention to that. Of you, like, on your hybrid bike with, like, a bell, like, ding, ding, like, just out pedaling, and then people just, like, super serious and be like, I'll get you.
It pretty much was like that. Like I said, don't worry, the run's coming.
Right.
I will get you.
You're mine.
I will. Don't worry. Don't worry.
I'm just spotting you time.
Yeah. And so I came in from the bike, and I already had my running shoes on. So all I had to do was rack my bike and take my helmet off and just take off. And I took 3 steps and fell flat on my face.
Oh, jeez.
And I had no idea. Here's what happens, right? When you're biking, you lose like your running legs. So that first couple of steps, or for some people it's like a half mile or mile. Those first couple of steps off the bike, you have rubber legs.
Yeah.
Like,
especially if you've
central nervous system is just like, what?
Right. It is a major shock to the system, especially when you're doing 20 miles straight on a road.
Yeah,
like
and you're on the chip, right? Especially if you're over pedaling a hybrid bike.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, I got done. I finished the run. I actually ran myself back into third. And then here's what happens. Someone from the local paper is there, takes a picture.
Uh-oh.
No.
Next day, coach sees it, sports page, I get this call. Hey, how was that 12-mile run? I was like, oh, it was really great. He goes, you did it in a swimsuit? I was like, yeah, because I'm working on my tan lines. shorts.
Just
maybe?
experimenting, just trying stuff out, trying out some new equipment.
He goes, did you do anything else before the 12-mile run? Because this is, before GPS. You can't like Strava my run or anything like that. I was like, well, I did a triathlon. He goes, okay, don't ever do that again.
So was there any penalty for that, or was it just like stay on the plan?
No, maybe. If you would talk to Isaiah now, I have a moratorium on swimming. No swimming. Right. And being focused would probably have made me a faster runner. Maybe. Who knows?
Right.
But I would have had less fun.
Right.
So where do you draw the line?
No, I think that's a challenge, right? If you look at like how kids develop, right?
Mm-hmm.
They always say, and I think the American Pediatric Association says, do not specialize your kids until they are X years old. Like, make sure they play in all of these different sports. Scotty was talking about this on most recent episode of Bike Shop CX when he was doing Do They Do That in Europe. And like, you look at people like what's his nose, the tennis star, Nadal, right? Like, played soccer, did all these things, and did not specialize. He's in his 40s and is killing it, right? Like, there is a better result if you just actually enjoy and do more things for your long-term benefit in sport, because you are not a specialist. You look at these kids, they just blow up by the time they're 18, 22, whatever, and then their career's over, and they hate it, and they don't have fun. I think it's cool that you still were like, I'm going to bend these rules even though these are my thing, because I want to enjoy what I'm doing.
Yeah. No, that's always a little bit of an element. I had a coach my coach in college was like, look, if you're not having fun doing it, why are you doing it? So even on the worst days, right, it's still better than what I could be doing.
Yeah, for sure. So you had found triathlon.
I found triathlon.
Where'd that go?
I found the shit out of triathlon. I ended up moving to Colorado for grad school. I was in Boulder for 6 years, and my running buddies there turned out to be triathletes. That makes sense. Remember when I was saying community brought me in?
Yeah. So
I knew a bunch of runners from racing at Mizzou, because college, University of Colorado used to be in the Big 12.
Yeah, that's right.
Go Big 12. I don't even know what it is now.
No, I can't. I division alignment is a nightmare now.
Yeah, we're not even going to go there. But, Colorado, Mizzou used to be in the same conference. And so I knew a bunch of the Colorado people, and I just started running with them. And a bunch of them were like, well, we're actually triathletes. And I said, I do triathlon. I said it very confidently. It's like, I do triathlon. They're like, you should bring your bike out. And of course, I still am not riding clipless pedals.
Right.
So I'm still riding in my running shoes with toe cages. I have not yet discovered that you don't wear underwear under your bike shorts.
Major
fail. And I don't own a bike jersey, right? So I've been just riding in T-shirts and things, and I have a backpack if I have to go far.
But to all of those points, proof that you don't need all of those things to enjoy doing whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
So what was up until that point? What if you're you've got regular cages, the shin murderers, haven't figured out the proper shorts etiquette, and wearing a backpack. What was your longest ride at that point?
Probably around 20.
Okay.
20 miles.
Well, that's a long ride with underwear and no clipless pedals and hybrid bike.
And we had so the Colorado Triathlon team at the time was one of the most successful in the country. And they grew to probably have about 120 kids.
Wow.
And the coach at the time was also the junior national coach down in Colorado Springs. So she could size you up.
Yeah.
Right. And so within like 2 months, I had a jersey. I was riding longer than 20 miles. Right. I had more than one bottle cage on my bike.
Yeah.
I had clipless pedals. Like, that was the other thing that she did really great, was help people figure out the equipment that they needed to actually have fun on the bike. Because
well, she probably looked at you and saw your run or your swim and was like, oh, if we can fix this middle section and give her what she needs, then we can close a lot of time.
Well, I remember the first swim practice, right? I hadn't swum in probably five, 6 years. And the first swim practice that I showed up with, she's like, "Are you a swimmer?" And I was like, "Yeah, I know how to swim." And she goes, "Okay, well, go get in that lane." And it was probably like the second one from the right, and I'm looking at it going, "No, I need to be in that lane over there." And it was the fast lane. And she's like, "Oh, no, just start over here." And I was like, all right. I jump in. I do 100. Everybody else is still on the first 50. And she goes, "Yeah, go get in that lane."
You're like, no. I know it's in there. Trust me.
Just the fact that you knew what lane that you should have been in probably should have told her something. You're like, "No, I'm actually."
I didn't even know what you were talking about because I don't swim.
You
I'm
don't
like,
swim.
no. When I go to the pool, I sit there with a beer. That's
Okay.
that's my type of swimming.
You're in that lane.
floating laps.
John's been to the pool with me. What did I do when we went to the pool?
You drank
I got wet, and then I sat there and drank a beer. That's what pool's for.
You keep your hand on the lane line kind of thing.
No, I don't. Lane lines. I am not at a pool that has lane lines.
No, it's just a big square at that point.
Yeah,
it's
big square. Some kids peed or pooped in the corner. It's generally my kind of pool.
There's no pee in our
not
pool.
much activity going on.
No, lots of beer drinking, laying out in the sun. That's me.
Your pool is bean shaped.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
recovery pool.
Recovery. Yeah, that's how I look at them. But you found something that you were passionate about at that spot. When did you make the transition to saying, okay, great, I love triathlon, that's awesome, but I want to specialize? And how did cyclocross become a thing for you? Where was that transition?
Yeah, so in grad school I took triathlon all the way. Like I became a professional.
Yeah.
I was amateur national champion. I ended up moving to Oregon, and I thought, okay, working in Oregon, triathlon has got to be amazing here too. And it is, but in a different way. So it was harder to get to the pro races and the bigger races. And I was on the Oregon State triathlon team for a bit, but all of my friends were cyclists.
Right.
And they were specializing. And I had seen a cyclocross race. So I living in Boulder, I had seen a couple of them, but I just thought, I can't do that. Because I had attempted mountain biking a couple of times, and I sucked at it.
If it gets in your head, it's bad. If it gets in your head and you have a couple crashes, or you look at something like, I can't do that, it gets in your head, it's tough to get past that.
No, I was terrible. I had probably 2 or 3 mountain bikes because I tried it. I would get one and I would ride it, and every time I would crash and I would, mess up a knee, mess up an elbow, mess up a forehead. Right. And I was like, you know what? Some people just can't do stuff.
Right.
And that's me. I just can't mountain bike.
It's not a fireplace.
That's it.
But
it's I can avoid mountain biking for reals.
Right. Sure.
And I did. So then when I moved to Oregon, I kind of moved into a fraternity.
What?
So
yes.
So Craigslist was a thing back then.
Yeah, no, it was the start of that.
Yeah, and it was a great place to find a place to stay. And I didn't have time or money to fly out to Oregon and find a place to stay.
Right.
So I just answered an ad, and these guys were cyclists, and they had a room. And I thought, that's perfect. And it's, right near the university, and, they can show me some bike routes and things. And I thought, that is fantastic. And my dad drove me out there, and I was, 28, 29 when I moved there. And my dad came out, we drove in there, we opened the door at 8 o'clock, and there was this giant giant hookah, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't smoke.
Yeah.
But right inside the door. And my dad was right behind me, and I grabbed a blanket off the couch and threw it over it.
Welcome to a new house, Dad. Welcome.
And he goes,
"Don't mind this hookah."
Yeah, don't mind this. This place is great.
It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
And I had 10 boxes and a futon, and we moved those in. And my dad said, "Okay, looks like you're all set." And he took off, and I was like, "This is gonna be great."
That's awesome.
So the fraternity, my bedroom didn't have it didn't have a closet.
Oh.
And when I mentioned it to the guy who was the landowner, he goes, "Really? Yeah. No closet. Is this really a bedroom?" He goes, "Oh, yeah, no."
Your bedroom was the closet.
My bedroom was the closet, apparently. So there was no closet. So I fit in there.
Yeah, because you're tall. This is not a thing. This must have been a big ass closet.
Futons fold up. But, they were all bikers. And one of them was a really good collegiate mountain biker. And I just had this road bike. And one day it was winter. It was like January. And one day, I was like, hey, you going for a ride? He goes, yeah, but it's off-road. I don't know if you want to go. And I was like, oh, try me, because I've ridden my road bike on gravel. So we go and we do the most amazing off-road ride in Oregon, Corvallis, just amazing. All these beautiful fire roads, trails. I rode that road bike on single track. And I got done and I was like, okay, this is amazing. We need to do more of this. I need to get a more appropriate bike because I actually had to ride my bike to the bike shop the next day because it was making some noises.
I wonder why.
Yeah, and on the way there, the chain fell off.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, like just...
The bike was just like, no,
the bike was like, I'm done.
I'm done.
And I rolled it into the bike shop, and the bike shop guy goes to me, says, repeat after me. I, state your name, will buy a proper cyclocross bike and never ride this road bike off-road again. And so that's how I got into cross. A friend of mine, we did a lot of riding. It was not cross season at the time, so we did a lot of off-road riding and on the cyclocross bikes. And then she goes, well, there's this, we race this. And I was like, oh, yes.
Competition?
Yes.
Yes.
There's competition?
Tell me more about this race thing.
Does someone give you free socks for this?
Yeah. And she says, well, I think you'll be really good at it because you have to jump on and off your bike. And you can do that really well for triathlon. And I said, yes, yeah, I got this. Well, she did not tell me there were barriers. And we didn't pre-ride the first race.
So yes, okay. So we were so for anyone not listening, I got this story last night at our Kink CX kickoff event at Cincinnati Mini. And so tell us the full story for your first cyclocross event, Sonny.
Okay, so it was on a hazelnut farm. In Oregon.
Oh, great start.
Yeah.
And it was next to a cornfield. And so half of the race was in the cornfield, which I don't know if you've ever ridden your bike in a cornfield.
It's real smooth.
It's very smooth.
Yeah.
Yeah, like butter. Yeah.
Yep.
And then half of it was through the hazelnuts farm.
Also super smooth.
Yeah. Hazelnuts, not known for their roundness.
Great for grip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Oregon does cyclocross really well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They like to throw stuff at you. And this race had it all. I mean, you would be going down a perfectly straight section and on kind of like a gravel trail. And then all of a sudden the course would 90 degrees into a ditch.
Ooh, fun.
And I hadn't pre-ride. I was just out there riding my bike, and I definitely took out some tape a couple of times. The barriers were right around a 180. So I came whipping around this 180 and screaming stop. I did not go over the handlebars, but it was definitely a screaming stop and a two-footed dismount.
Oh my God, what do I do?
Where both feet and wire their barriers on this course. They had a little bridge. They actually had a shortcut, but the shortcut you had to be able to ride like a mountain bike feature. So it was a narrow bridge kind of thing.
Yeah,
and
so like an A line, B line, and like if you took the A line, you had to have some skill.
Yeah. So I definitely took the A line, and did not have skill, and didn't realize. So you went up a little thing, and you were immediately on this ramp, and it was in the woods, so you couldn't see it. And I was on the ramp, and I definitely two-wheeled off the ramp into some trees, and thought, well, that was awesome. I survived though, and it was like a women's B event, and I finished, and it was amazing. And I didn't crash, and I got done. I had this goofy grin on my face, and I said, let's do more of this. Let's go do a lot more. And so I started getting into the cross crusades.
Huge scene.
Huge
up there.
scene.
Huge scene.
Very unique scene as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do it very different than I think the rest of the country does in a very good way. And
it builds, right? So it's a series. And the series has really interesting features. So the first race out, there's a one pack, right? There's one barrier. And the next race has two barriers in a row. And then third race has 3 barriers in a row. And so by the time you're getting to the last race, you have 8 barriers in a row. There's actually an 8-pack.
That's crazy
And
fun.
I don't know if you've ever done 8 barriers in a row, but you lose a lot of momentum around 6.
I lose a lot of momentum after 2.
Yeah.
I lose a lot of momentum around 6.
Yeah. There's definitely a law. Like there's a chart for this someplace, right?
Yeah.
We're on one end of it. You're kind of towards the top of
the
it.
The barriers are 10 feet apart, and you're definitely like setting your bike down and catching your breath in between each one.
Yeah, for sure. It's a neat thing they do because they're kind of reinventing the game in a way. They don't have to play by the same rules that everybody else in the nation is, and that's got to be an interesting place to really cut your cyclocross teeth. What do you think was your favorite part about that being an imprint on you as you started out the sport?
Just the number of people having fun all at the same time, and it was just. Everything about those races was designed to have an experience. Whether you were spectating or participating, it was an experience. The hand-ups alone, right? I mean, bacon hand-ups, celery hand-up one time. I got someone threw popcorn at me.
Who's bringing celery?
It was a joke.
Ironically, of course, yeah.
This is so fibrous.
And they wouldn't just like hold it out, right? I mean, they do what the Bike Iowa guys do and put it on a fishing pole.
Fishing pole, yeah.
Or the best, they'd put it like on tape it to the back of the barrier so the dollar was just like sticking up, and so a person would coming through the barriers and see the dollar like on the barriers and try to jump over the barriers while reaching down to the barriers with a bike on and trying to grab, for $1.
Yeah.
And it is the most awkward thing you've ever seen.
I'll say that sounds like good YouTube content right there.
It is great YouTube content.
So obviously you have all of this previous borderline professional experience racing at a very high level, and you're falling in love with cyclocross. What was that tipping point of you deciding that you wanted to, like, I want to do this at an elite level and do cyclocross as a professional while also maintaining my life as a professional in other things?
Yeah. So I tried the professional athlete thing a couple of times, right? After running track in college, I had the opportunity. It didn't take. After I tried it with triathlon as well, got pretty far, but again, I kept coming back to the fact that in my, like, should I call it my real life? My professional life?
Your professional life. It's not, it's all real life.
Yeah, the all real life. So I, started off as a scientist, really with a desire to make the world better, right? With whatever I was doing, the research that I was doing or the impact that I was making. And that's always been the guiding light. And cycling and triathlon and running has really been, for me, about the actual, like, living part.
Right.
So, work hard so that other people can have, great lives, but then make sure that you're having one too. And so that's what it's been about for me. The reason that I started doing it at an elite level, when I was racing in Oregon, I had people to compete with. There was always someone faster than me.
Right. So
even in the women's A, there's Tina Brubaker, there was all the women that were on the Portland teams, and Beth Ann Orton was racing really high level, and I had these women to race against, and then I got a job in St. Louis, so back in my hometown, back home. After a couple of years in Oregon, and everybody was like, "Oh, do they have cycling in St. Louis? They have biking?" And I was like, "Hold the phone, guys." Yes,
yes, it exists.
Bikes are everywhere.
I was like, "You wouldn't believe this. They actually have a whole race series, very much like the Cross Crusade, called the Bubba Cross Memorial Cyclocross, events." Yep. And so when I moved back, I started racing locally, and it was great. But the level, like, I didn't have like the women. Really like the depth of women to race and push.
Right.
And the USGP was going on at the time, and all of those races were within driving distance of St. Louis, Missouri. Right. You got Wisconsin, you had Louisville, you had Cincy, you had the Iowa Jingle Cross. Right. And so I just thought, okay, this is where I can find my races. And so I started showing up to those, and those were the ones I was doing, and then it just ended up snowballing from there.
So how did you put that first program together? Because that's, I mean, you're talking about living in St. Louis, driving to all of those different locations. Yeah, they're drivable, but that's like Midwest drivable. And I think Midwesterners grow up with a different perspective on what is drivable versus what other people in this country grow up
6 hours
for.
is drivable.
When I went to school at IU and then lived in Indianapolis, we'd be like, hey, there's a party tonight in Chicago. And you'd be like, sweet, it's Saturday. All right, so we'll go up tonight. We'll drive up to Chicago. We'll party till 4 a.m. Then we'll turn around, drive back the next day.
Yeah.
Like, no problem.
Math. It's just math.
Yeah. Like, this is what we do.
It's like, okay, so work till 5, and maybe I can talk to my boss and I can leave at 4.
Right.
Or I can start early, leave at 4. I'll have the car packed because I'll pack on Thursday night. I'll have it gassed up, right?
Yep, get in the car, boom.
And get in the car, boom. I'll have snacks. I'll have water. I'll have coffee. I'll arrive at like 11 o'clock. I'll have a place to stay. They'll know, right? That I'm coming. I got friends. I got friends in Wisconsin, Cincy, and a couple of different places that you just learn from this great community that is cycling.
Right. Which all of these things you're listing are great for high level performance, by the way.
Yeah, and I've been told. What, sleep and snacks and sitting in a car for 6 hours is amazing.
Especially again as you and I speaking the same language here, as a tall person being stuck in a car for 6 hours, it is awesome to get out of the car and then go perform. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's why I walk around.
Right, yeah.
Why are you walking around? Shouldn't you be resting?
These things are not moving.
So working during the week, putting all these things together, trying to stay focused on training, and how did you? What was your first year program for USGP, like sponsorship wise? How did you go find sponsors? What did you pitch to them as like
sponsors?
This is what I want to do.
You were just funding it with a full-time job?
Yeah. I mean, if I had sponsors, they were ones that I wanted to work with. And, great equipment, or I had a conversation with them and we had talked about what I was doing and what they were interested in doing. And that's how it kind of worked. That's how it worked with Big Shark Bicycle.
Okay.
Because I was racing, in their kit for a number of years. And my husband worked there. And so, they would help me out with bikes. And then the rest of it was just me. And
just
then
having those conversations.
My friend,
over time.
and then my friend Travis was racing cyclocross, and at the time we worked together, and he was interested in going and watching these races and then seeing them. So he would go and he would do his event, which is like the men's B or the Masters, right? And he was my same size.
Ooh, we're getting some simplicity here.
Yeah,
some efficiencies.
Yeah. So he had a what did he have? It wasn't a full tilt boogie. He had a Van Dessel though.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Beautiful bikes. I've always thought they were beautiful.
I know. And that was my pit bike. So his bike became my pit bike for the first couple of years, and he'd pit for me. And wash the bikes or whatever. And, we'd talk a little bit about tire pressure, but I didn't have wheels. I showed up with one set.
Right.
And one set of tires. So, even up until the last couple of years, I basically, no matter what conditions they were, I always had the same tire set.
Well, it's one of the first conversations after meeting Mark Legg early, like in my cyclocross life, and having conversations with him, is he's the first one that convinced me to buy tubular tires. And he's like, well, if you're only going to have one set, buy muds. Yeah. Because if it's dry, you're gonna have extra grip, but you have muds, and if it's muddy, you're still ready. And it's like that's something that's carried through with for the next like 5 seasons of my and I give that advice to everybody that asks, like if I could have one set of tires for cyclocross, should I get MXPs or should I get intermediates or whatever? It's like, no, get muds. Yeah. Like they're gonna help
get a Griffo.
It's been raining all night in Cincinnati, and we're getting ready to go race bikes on a very soft course.
Oh, it's so sad. We actually did glue up a set of chicanes this week, and they did not even get in the wheel bag to come.
Nope.
No.
But that is, I think, starting.
You're aging them.
I am.
Yeah,
They're
them.
getting a nice patina.
I was say, did you put them in the basement for later? Go the full like Wout van Aert route, like you're just gonna age them and bring them out, and then
the green tires.
Yeah,
but I think there's something that your story bears resemblance to a lot of the stories that exist for people who are not professionals, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't have 1,000 million sets of wheels. They don't always have this, I have all the equipment. You were racing at a high level and building yourself to the point that we're at now by like, okay, I got this one set of wheels. I'm borrowing my friend's bike. This is how I think most masters or non-professional amateur racers get into the sport and stay in the sport. It's that camaraderie, that team building, that like figuring out, hey, can I borrow this from you? Oh, hey, I got injured. You can borrow my bike or my wheels or whatever, to give people more options. This is a common story, but you elevated it. What was the switch that allowed you to be like, okay, I can still hold down this full-time thing, but now I know I can compete at this level. I'm going to pour gas on this.
Yeah. For me, I was already kind of racing elite at the time, and I, was starting to move beyond the USGP. But, Travis couldn't come, a lot of weekends. So I would have to call a local bike shop and say, hey, do you know a guy who could, or somebody who could work for me in the pit kind of thing. And I actually had this race. I drove out to North Carolina for one of the first Grand Prix events that they hosted there. And that race was incredibly cold the first day. And afterward, I didn't have a pit that day because it wasn't particularly muddy. I just had my bike. I had 2 bikes at the time, but I didn't have a pit. I just set the bike in the pit, and it was so cold, and I froze. I froze on the course, but I finished. I think I was like 6th or 7th or something. And I remember afterward, I crawled into my car, and I turned on the heater, and I sat there for like 2 hours until I could warm up. And it was the loneliest experience ever. And I didn't know anybody in North Carolina. And then I got in the car. I got all my stuff, got in the car, and I actually had someone tail me to my hotel and then steal my money in the hotel parking lot. So it was like a low level mugging. And then I got into the hotel and I just locked the door and stayed there, and I reported everything. And then the next day turned out to be this incredibly muddy event. And so the local bike shop guy said, can I use you in the pit? And I just had no expectations. I was like, this is going to be my last cross race ever. And then at the time I was dating Doug. So I had called Doug and I said, Doug, you would never believed my money, this guy took my money and everything. He's like, oh my God, I should have been there with you. Right. Like that was his first thing. And I said, no, you had to work. This was our deal. I drove out here, not a big deal. And then the next day I raced, and it was incredible. It was crazy muddy. So it was probably the muddiest race I'd ever done. Right. And I had this guy in the pit, and he was keeping the bikes washed. So I was trading everything. I didn't have a mechanical or anything like that. It was a lot of running. I remember Jeremy Powers was doing that race, and he did a lot of running. And I was like, okay, so see, even he wasn't riding those sections.
And he hates running.
And even he was doing a lot of running for that.
Jeremy.
Like after my race, I watched him and I was like, he's doing a lot of running. I didn't need to know how to ride that.
Yep, not important. Didn't need to learn that skill.
Yeah. Didn't need to do it. And I ended up winning that day. And I went from I am ready to quit cyclocross to I can do this.
It was your golf shot.
Right.
It was that shot that brought you back. You were, and completely rightfully so. You have a terrible experience. You're freezing.
Yeah.
I did it was like -12. There was a state championships that way where got out of the car and you're like, I brought all of my clothes and I'm going to wear all of my clothes and I'm still going to be frozen.
Yeah. It's exactly how that happened.
The thought of getting in your car by yourself and then mugged and all of that.
And
it's
part of the
reason,
reason,
I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, no. Part of the reason why I drove out there is because my dad lives in North Carolina now, and I thought, this would be a great opportunity to see him, but he couldn't come on the Saturday, and so Sunday was also the first time that he got to see me race, which was interesting because after that he thought, oh, you should be winning a lot.
His expectations were, well, my daughter.
This is easy. This just comes easy
just
to
wins.
her. Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Setting expectations.
So then the next year it became, okay, we're doing this for real. And so Doug and I set out a schedule and, started thinking about, right after nationals that year, we started thinking about, okay, what equipment do we want? You had some trouble with 2x. Do you want to go permanent 1x? How are we going to do that? Because it was before the real bike groupos were out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So what
all
did
of
that,
it.
like? You're doing all this by yourself. It's not there's only one Cannondale Cyclocross World team. Like there's only one team that has that level of support, and it's literally you, Doug, putting this whole program together.
Doug, and now just like
now,
this,
yeah,
now it's this. We have all of these, all this great support.
Right.
So.
And I gotta believe for you, it's like what all of this is amazing. It's gotta feel so foreign to you to have this level of support.
I try never to take it for granted.
Yeah.
Right? Always be grateful, always be excited. Try to honor that by my performance as well.
So it kind of leads to the next question of taking this transition of going from like, all right, well, we're trying to do this to we're going to do this and we're going to do it right, and committing multiple people's weekends to this and full commitment on multiple bikes, the wheels, all of that stuff. How in the hell do you do a regular job, train, manage sponsorship relations, build industry partnerships, and then it comes to cross season and you're training, you're working, you're trying to recover. Like there's just so many things that are relevant to regular people, not just people trying to race at an elite level.
Right.
Of how do you do all of those things?
And to be clear, like your regular job is kind of like a smart job.
It. Yeah, it's a smart job. Is this a smart job? Wait a minute.
It takes a lot of brain. It takes a lot of brain.
It's cerebral. My job is very cerebral. How do I do it? I guess I've sort of always done it. Is the best answer, but the real way to do it is I set like my expectation, and then I have that conversation with everybody else and say, this is what we're going to do. I mean, part of it is just making a decision that you're going to do it. Like sometimes that's the hardest part, right? And you're like, you're like looking at me, Sonny, like, I don't know that many people that just decide that they're going to be a professional cyclocross racer. That's true.
That is true.
That's
for
true.
Sure. Yes.
I could decide that today and it ain't going to happen.
It's not yeah. I don't know. I've had a lot of really great mentors, and I've taken pieces of what they've taught me and built it into a program. So one of the things that I try to think about is this term, getting my mise en place, right? So what do I need to do? And it's actually French for mise en place. So Frenchie's going to like kill me, right? Because
she's like, that's not how you pronounce it.
I totally franglaid that.
It's all right. We're currently in Kentucky, so I think you're safe.
Yeah.
And, converted into the me, right?
Yep.
There's no I in team, but you can spell me.
Yeah, exactly.
Kidding.
Yeah, for sure.
No, but it's just getting the things in place. Like, what do you need to do? Where do you want to be, right? And so for me, it's like I want to be riding the best equipment. So then I'm talking to the people who have the best equipment and finding out, what makes them the best, and then how I can get my hands on them. I also, because I have a smart job, a super cerebral job, I budget for the season just like I would budget for a vacation or a budget for a home purchase or something like that.
And when do all those conversations start? So let's say like for this 2019-2020 cross season, when did all of the conversations that led into Pactimo, Colorado, all of your partners, Head Wheels, all of those things, like when did those conversations start for this specific season?
The Head Wheels one started a couple of years ago, actually. Because one thing I learned from triathlon is that besides actually having a bike that works, the next most important thing is having great wheels, right? I think we were having this conversation last night. I was telling you
conversation.
the taco conversation.
Yeah.
I was doing the trek the Trek race, one of the first years that I did it, and they have that crazy transition from the grass onto the concrete on the backside by the factory, and that is a like a 130-degree transition.
Yeah, and it's a wheel killer.
It is a wheel killer. And one of the first races I ever did there, I was coming down that behind a woman who tacoed her front wheel on that transition, and there was no flying through the air. Like, she just hit the ground.
Thud.
Right
in
front of me.
Yeah,
and
tacoed her wheel and tacoed her face.
Tacoed her, and I have never been able to go down that hill
without thinking about that.
Thinking about that.
Don't be that lady. Don't be that lady. Don't be that lady. Yeah.
Yeah. Even this year when we had to run down it, I was like,
don't taco your wheel. Don't taco your wheel.
Don't taco your wheels. Right. And so it's like, I do not want to, like, the last thing I want to do is taco a wheel. Right. And Doug just happens to be this amazing wheel builder. Right. And he knows a lot about wheels. I mean, he will actually read a wheel building guide in bed.
Nerd.
Hi, Doug.
Hi, Doug. We totally love you. But, and he gets excited about rims and
technology based
all
on
of
that,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, spoke count, spoke length, spoke tensioning. I mean, the head conversation started a couple of years ago, and it really just started with and Doug, helping out friends and getting help from friends in the pits and at races kind of thing.
And I like that. That's kind of why I wanted to have this conversation, because I think we understand how a little bit, we're starting to understand how this industry works and how sponsorships don't just fall out of the sky for anyone listening that wants to be, they're trying to make it to Cat 1 or whatever.
If you want to get ahead in the life.
Oh, I see where you're going with that.
There was a whole process, and you can't see this because we don't have live video, but there was a whole process of, and now she's real proud of herself. She's real proud of the dad joke.
Yeah. Wow. So that's been a theme recently on your social media.
It was a theme from the very beginning.
Yeah, that it's been fun to watch. But yes, you are sponsored by Head. So let's get that out of the way.
But what John I think is saying is there is a relationship portion of everything that happens, and I think it's not just exclusive to cycling, right? But everything you do in life is based on having good, honest, open relationships with people and developing friendships and finding places where your worlds overlap. And it's not always that your best friend who owns a chair manufacturing company, right? Is you're like, oh, well, I'm going to get my chairs from them. Maybe they're not the right chairs for you, but you still maintain that relationship and that friendship. And maybe down the road, they make a chair that does work for your house, right? But there's that relationship building that creates the possibility for sponsorship.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It seems
we could go down the line. I mean, honestly, but from starting with Grimpeur Brothers, right? I mean, I have more than a passing affinity with coffee. And I will say that
I could tell this morning you were very excited when I texted you for your coffee order.
I will say I have been genetically tested. I did my 23andMe profile, and it turns out that they can genetically determine whether or not you have more than a passing affinity with coffee.
Really? Yours was
that's one of the things.
Yeah, off the charts.
Likely to tolerate caffeine well.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Although I still don't want to give my information to 23andMe. My mom's done hers, so I guess I'm halfway there. So,
Grimpeur brought TNR tape. I was at Major Taylor for that crazy first year with all the mud and everything, and I was complaining about the safety pins, and David Palin was like, "Well, would you want to try some stickers?" And I was like, "Stickers,
right?
Sure,
why not?"
Yeah, let's do them. He's like, are you going to Belgium? Would you want to try them in Belgium? I was like, do I only get them if I race in Belgium?
Because yes, the answer is yes.
Yes, I will travel all the way to Belgium and do a bunch of races if you give me stickers.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's and I think it's the actual word choice that you use for it is very important too. Is we're talking about it as sponsorship, but really it's partnerships. It's building partnerships and building relationships and
collaborators.
And then those things happen because you're obviously doing something for all of your partners by giving them exposure and talking about them and testing products and giving feedback, right?
Yeah.
And then they're obviously getting they're supplying you with what you need to go
Mm-hmm.
race at a high level.
Yeah, no, that, I mean, honestly, that goes all the way back to my triathlon stuff and track and field too. Like, I signed up to be a tester for some of the first Cliff Bars. So
were they tasty?
So some weren't. Some were amazing, right? But they had these shot rocks. I don't know if you remember the Cliff Shot rock.
No, I don't remember those.
But they were these balls that looked kind of like malted milk balls. That were designed to be like recovery balls. They came in like cookie dough flavors and
I think Doug and I are just going to sit here and
and
be quiet unless you listen to you try and explain this.
It's very awkward.
Shot rock balls. But it was
this.
hysterical because Cliff Bar, you'd sign up for this program and they'd send you this package that was in totally unidentified package, totally unidentified foil. And then it would have a little card that had, try this and then go to this website and give us your feedback.
It's like NASA package.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. It was amazing. I did the same thing for Brooks running shoes.
Oh, cool.
Right? And I thought, after doing these experiences, I thought, I do a lot of outdoor sports, right? I've done adventure racing. I've, a lot of like adventure hiking and camping and trail running. And I thought, I bet they all want people to test these things and give them feedback. So that's how a lot of my relationships started.
Well, and because you have, and I think we talked about this with Becca Farringer, athletes, right, who are student athletes. It's a great ability to learn balance in your life, right? It's a great opportunity to figure out how to manage a workload of I got tests, I got classes, I've got to be here at this time, then I've got practice, and I also have training, and I have to eat right, and I have to pay my bills, and I have to do all that stuff. And like, you have a lot of schooling, so you had a long time.
I've had some school.
Right, you've had a long time to focus on that, and high level schooling, especially where you are very self-directed and responsible for a lot of things for yourself.
Yeah.
It's when you're in advanced degree programs, it's not just show up to biology 101.
No.
It's like write a thesis and manage that, figure out how to do that, plus all this other training. So as you're looking at balance, student athletes really get that, but they also get a learning that you got, which is how to deal with sponsors, how to deal with this, because if you're racing or riding or running or performing in a sport at that level, you have commitments to the school to do things, to show up at this event or to rep the school in this fashion. And that, I think, we don't talk enough about.
Yeah,
for,
like a
for those
conduct
kids.
kind of thing.
Yeah, like there's a learning in that space, and I think that patterned really well for you to give you a point where, as you're building a program out, you already kind of innately get, okay, Sonny has to do the following things, and this is how I can build them into the deliverable. But with that, what is a week for you, like a normal Monday through Sunday, like in cross season, look like for Sonny and Doug, for that matter, because you guys are running at it.
Yeah. So if we've raced the weekend before, we're usually starting Monday at a little bit of a deficit, right? So there's
wow,
really?
A
little bit. So
yeah.
I mean, biggest thing is there's dirty clothes and no food in the house. Right.
Right. Yeah. I don't think Ellen and I are like, can you squeeze into half-hour market run today?
Plus, we got a dog, right? And we love him, and he, has needs.
they all do.
They
yes.
have needs. So, typical Monday is, you just set the alarm and you have to get up when it goes off, because you've made that commitment. And I, Monday mornings nowadays, I have a 7 a.m. for work, 7 a.m. call. So, I've definitely taken it on the road a couple of times, which is, it's just a conversation. It's like, look, I could travel 6 hours and arrive at 1 o'clock in the morning, or I could stay where I'm at, take a couple calls and travel and be working remotely,
right?
Which I have occasionally the luxury to do. I mean, my job is very focused on communication, so I would say 80% cannot be done remotely, but fortunately, some of it can. So Monday morning, 7 a.m., get on a call, squeeze in some breakfast, take a shower, get to work. I mean, it is like that simple. Doug is the same way. But then Monday morning, usually, so I've negotiated with my coach that Mondays are usually off, right? I'm not training. So I don't have that to worry about. I'm recovering. I'm recovering from the race. I'm recoving from travel.
Not answering all those emails all weekend, right?
Oh, no, I have answered them. the important ones, right?
Yeah, right. Just the fires, the real big fires.
No, I've definitely, I don't leave my email.
Well, we talked about this the day of the World Cup at Waterloo. You showed up and you're like, yeah, I just did like 3 hours worth of work before, getting my openers in.
We got a lot of things going on at my office.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff. I want to be involved. But so, so then normal day of work, and then Monday night, it's, what's the week going to look like, right? It's go to the grocery store. It's start the get the laundry going. It's, there's some relaxation in there as well. Doug and I like to take the dog for a walk together. So we can get our chats in, kind of thing. And, we both know that rest is pretty important. So, try to get that full night's sleep. Full night is sometimes 6 hours, but, it's not 4 hours.
Right.
It's not 8 hours.
If it is 6 hours, you try and make it a quality 6 hours.
Yeah. And then, by Tuesday, we're back into the motion, right? We're training, we're, having dinner, we're, catching up with some friends. And, if we got a race again the next weekend, it's like, what's the logistics to get to the next race? And that's really the flow. I mean, by the end of the cyclocross season, we're ready to spend a couple months at home.
Right. So when does your training happen during the week during cross season?
Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday.
But like usually. Mornings, nights, right? Like midday,
both.
Right? Like, are you doing 2-a-days or,
Yeah. This time of year, I'm not doing 2-a-days on the bike, but, part of the importance of cyclocross is to be able to have like that core fitness. And so there's core that happens, there's stretching that happens. I'm a huge fan of yoga. I've got this 20-minute yoga routine, like down to the second, right? And so if I have 20 minutes, yoga is happening.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it's just a video that I just queue up on my phone.
Just
go for it.
Can you share that with us, and we'll put it in the show notes?
If you want, I paid $12.99 for it.
Oh wait, month. No, we'll put the link to it so you can pay $12.99 for it. You should support whoever's making it.
For sure.
Yeah. I think it's out of Australia.
Perfect.
But so I mean that's what I do, and then core is the same way. It happens a couple of times a week, 30 minutes, and if there's 2-a-days, it's pro commuting. I get kitted up, I get on the cross bike, I put my backpack on, and I pro commute to work.
So I've never thought of calling it that, but I like this.
What does that mean? Because in my head I think I know what it means.
John, it's what you do.
It's what I do, but I just wondered because I'm going to totally call it that.
So when I was in St. Louis, my commute was about 30 to 40 minutes depending on traffic. But halfway there was a state park. Or there was 2 parks. I could do one of 2 parks, and both had like a legit cyclocross loop, like a hot lap that I could ride on the cross bike. And so I would get in the car, I'd load everything up, I'd get in my kit, and I'd drive halfway to work. I'd get out, I'd do like a cross workout, right? Sometimes it started with lights, like I'd warm up with lights, and then by the time it got light, it'd be time to go do some trails. And then I'd just jump in the car super sweaty. I'd have a towel, or actually, what do I use now? Oh, the quick cover. Like on my car, and then I'd jump in the car, and then I'd go shower and work, and sit down at my desk, and that was my pro commute. And then now, in Colorado, I have the benefit that there's actually a gravel trail for 80% of my commute,
and
awesome. Then the Valmont Bike Park is kind of on the way.
Just a quick ditch off here, hit these hit these massive jumps.
Yeah.
So I have gone down. The Valmont Bike Park, like the bike chute and over the pump section with my backpack on and my very expensive work computer in my backpack and my lunch and everything.
No one from work's probably listening to this. It's okay.
Oh, they do the same thing. It's Boulder.
Okay, well that's good.
Everybody does.
If you don't have, and if you have a resource like that, come on. You're going to it.
Yeah, but it's like there's corners, right? How do you corner? Do you go in late? Do you go in early? Watch out for people walking their dogs and invisible leashes.
So
but other than that, you're good.
So do you feel like riding that with the backpack gives you an extra advantage come race day?
It definitely adds a little bit of weight training, but you really have to watch on your position because it definitely changes my position.
Right, sure. Well, exactly. And that's the
I'm
thing
too far with the front.
Yeah. And occasionally I will get, I did get a comment on one of my training days. Isaiah was very, very nice about it, but he said, hey, if you are going to do this, could you do the workout in the afternoon and maybe drop your backpack off?
Yeah, instead of like that.
Yeah.
Raising your heart rate.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's about a 30-minute ride. So I can, get a little bit of warm up, drop the bike off, go finish a workout.
Yeah.
And I can do that in the morning or the evening.
Yeah.
So I can
but that's cool. It gives you some opportunity. And I think that's something that, like, when you're managing this from a balance standpoint, right, you have to find the time, but still be committed and focused on work and be present there and be present when you get home with Doug and your dog. Like, what's your dog's name?
Gunner.
With
guns blazing.
Guns blazing. But like you have to have the focus on those spaces. So can you tack that at the beginning of your day? Can you tack the training at the end of your day by being creative like that?
Yeah. And I allow myself to call an audible. Right? So if I'm tired, if I didn't sleep right, if I didn't have the nutrition right, and I get into a workout and it's not working out, that's the deal. Isaiah and I called an audible on this one. I did that on Wednesday. I worked a 12-hour day, and I just was like, I can't get the workout in. And he goes, that's cool. Just do it on Thursday then.
Right. And you have to be.
It is better to be like, no,
yeah,
I am not going to put myself at a deficit than no, I must do this.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it other than just like getting the workout in, like it has to be quality, right? So that's the thing about all of my workouts. Every single one of them is quality. I don't go in and just get junk miles ever.
Yeah. And I mean, that's important for you from this balance perspective.
Yeah. And he makes me focus too, right?
Oh, of course.
One of the things he said about me moving to Colorado is that he's like, I have to keep you from riding too much now.
Because it's too easy to ride a ton there.
Yeah.
But everything is awesome there. There is like, there's great trail, there's great racing, there's great climbing, there's great, there's just a lot of opportunity. And you got to keep the reins back off. Yeah. So you and Doug, obviously Job said move to Colorado, or was that you guys saying, let's move to Colorado?
No, that was 100% Job.
Yeah. You'd already been there though, so at least you were familiar with it.
Yeah, and there were only a few places in the country where we said, yeah, we could potentially see ourselves living
So you were
there.
looking around, like, this is one area we could live, this is one area we could live, and you found a position there. So what are you doing by day now for the Pebbles so that they understand what you do?
So my official title is Senior Alliance Manager. I work for a medical...
Sounds like you're doing something with Star Wars.
It is, isn't
Rebel
it?
Alliance,
Yeah. The Rebel Alliance. I'm one of the good guys. Come on.
It's good. Exactly.
No, I work for, it's a medical device company, but we're developing a companion diagnostic for oncology biomarkers. So the hope is, let me unpack that a little bit. You get diagnosed with cancer, and it's a specific type of cancer. And there's clearly drugs out there for all different types of cancer.
Sure, tons of them, yeah.
How do you know, or how does your doctor know which one is right for you, right? And a lot of times it's, tests have been done, tons of studies have been done. If you take, for instance, breast cancer, and in all of those studies, 75% of women respond to this drug if they have breast cancer, right? But as a scientist, my first question would be, what happens if I'm the 25%?
Of course,
right?
Yeah. What's if I am part of this non-success rate? What is it for me?
Maybe that's a little negative. 75% of women will respond great, and will be cured by tumor removal and a drug treatment, scenario. But 25% won't. And the challenge there is that if you give them the drug that won't end up working for them, now they've wasted time. They've gotten sicker.
Right.
And so there is a real need in the community to better characterize the type of cancer you have. And one way is to do that is to do a genetic profile of your cancer.
So it's a tool to allow doctors to do a better job of helping these people
Yeah,
recover?
so it's a couple of different levels. One is to just do a profile of, actionable biomarkers, like genes that people know are involved in cancer biology and that, potentially have drugs that could treat them in that scenario. But then there's also a different level where you have one like known actionable mutation where that drug will, the vast majority of the time treat that cancer.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's some really cool, wild stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
so as alliance manager, I work with our business development teams who are working with the pharmaceutical companies, and then I work with our internal project teams.
Are we making the right thing?
Yeah.
Are we getting the right information? So what you're doing is basically what you just did to me, which is explain to people. Then they may know more because they're in the pharmaceutical industry, but what you're doing is translating.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're translating.
Shedding light on things that maybe are being missed, helping things along, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't just do the science. Like, I have operational activities, and I work with the finance teams, and I work with the leadership teams, and I have a team too.
Yeah,
so
that
there's
helps you do that,
it's not done in a
vacuum.
in a vacuum, and our biggest tool is communication.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's all of our biggest tool. I mean, that's how we maintain all of our friendships, relationships, our sponsorships, and all that sort of stuff is this.
Yeah. And if we keep talking about science, people might fall asleep. And
that's okay.
I can talk about it for hours.
Well, that's good. But I think it's important for people to understand that aspect of what you do and why, what your job demands of you as we talk about balance.
Yeah. And, to get here, right, it wasn't just like I never had a moment where I didn't know what I wanted to do sort of professionally, right? I never was undecided in college.
Yeah.
Liberal
arts major.
I declared biochemistry on like the third day that I was there.
Yeah.
And, I didn't take any sort of time off, just went straight into a PhD, went straight from a PhD into what's called a postdoc where, you're doing independent research, went straight from my postdoc to joining an R&D company, an R&D team. At a Fortune 100 company, and from there it's like the sky's the limit because you learn every stage
of
what it takes to actually get a drug, a food, something approved and to the point where people can benefit from it.
So, like all of this science, like background and stuff, and all this like schooling and growth, and all of that in this management and this project management, all that stuff. What do you feel from that has had the biggest effect on your professional cyclocross career?
Organization. Having that level, being forced to have that level of organization, like means that I'm thinking about nationals, right? I'm already thinking about the summer when I know I have calendar invites for when event registration starts for events that I want to do next year. Right. And then I have reminders.
Booking flights, doing all that stuff. Yeah.
Things like that. Like I set it all out.
So
right?
does that macro transition to the micro as well? Like when you're doing course recon, does that that level of detail go from, we're talking about next year macro level, does that go to that micro level of looking at sessioning a section of the course, and does that same level of detail come through?
Yeah. So I, especially I didn't realize it so much because, a lot of the courses that I've done in the US, right, don't really change that much. So Kings, right? I mean, I watched Bill's crosswalk.
Track walk.
And you're like, this changed.
And nothing changed. Right, except for one thing. There's a mini 180.
Yeah, well, there's a mini one. Yeah, I was gonna say, now that spells mini. So shout out to supporter of this weekend's events, mini.
Yeah. So there are minor changes.
Right,
but by and large,
it's not like the venue is topographically different.
Right, and we did it in Insane Mud last year, so I know exactly what to expect.
Yep.
Right, in terms of what's going to happen today. But when I went to Europe, I had no idea.
Right.
What to expect. And so, it takes the challenge to a whole nother level because I'm not going to the courses the day before.
Yeah.
Right. No one is, I spent an hour and a half at one of my first races on my first Belgian trip trying to figure out where registration was. And they kept saying things like, oh, it's in the bar, or it's like down there. And, kind of pointing you in 10 different directions. And finally, I just walked into the bar and I had to go to the bathroom, and I went back down this hall, and just past the bathroom was another room where the registration happened to be. Otherwise, I might not have had a number.
Right.
Right. So there's things that you have to
things that are
plan
taken for granted here.
Things that are taken for granted here, that there's just a big sign that says registration, and it's in English, and it's right by the start line.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Right.
But, having that process. So, knowing I'm going to show up, I'm going to go get my race numbers. I'm going to set up my trainer. I need to eat something at X time, right? Where's my kit? Where's my helmet? Where's my sunglasses? Where are my shoes? Where's my TNR tape?
Yeah, there you go. But you have all that stuff set forward because the detail, so that when you do bump into one of those weird things, all the other details are handled.
Right.
That's why I think that detail and organization is a really good pull forward from that.
And it's an underappreciated skill, I think.
Oh, it really is. I mean, what was I listening to? I was like, I'm a podcast freak. I mean, I don't know that we've touched on that, but
we know.
Aside from what's going on all over WAP, love it. You guys are getting ready to. I have another pun for you. I'm going to drop it. I'm going to warn you right now. So earmuffs.
That
for
makes
anyone who doesn't like us.
that makes the dad joke even better when you preface
You guys
it.
are getting ready to WAP up your fun drive.
Yes, we are. We have the fun
by the
drive
time.
has
By
been
the time,
whapped.
I'd say by the time this comes
airs,
out, it
has
will
been
have
whapped.
already whapped.
It'll be whapped.
You can still join the network.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You can still donate.
Sustaining members.
Sustaining members, yes, absolutely.
You get this level of
Yes.
quality.
I donate a couple of lattes to WAP a month.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. We appreciate that. But
So what were we talking about?
organization, how
Organization.
undervalued it
She
is.
got caught up. in
Yeah,
her
so
dad
I was
joke.
listening to I don't know if it was like Hidden Brain or Freakonomics or something like that, but they were talking about how everybody wants to be innovative. Innovative is like this great buzzword. I want to be innovative. I want to be creative. And I was like, some of the most creative people I know are actually the organizational leads, right? Because they're having to be so creative about coordinating all of the aspects
Right.
and making them come together like some crazy Lego castle.
It's
really
so you're talking like this is where my daily job is, and not to say that it's easy to come up with crazy ass off the wall ideas, but it's actually it is easier to live in that space than it is to live in the space of actually bringing those ideas to life and executing the day-to-day, the stuff that just keeps the lights on. Of how do you get 27 hours of work into a 24-hour day and get your sleep involved. And it's figuring out how to do those things creatively and creatively solving those problems that where you become it's the difference between success and failure.
Yeah, and
especially for someone like yourself.
Yeah, we were talking about it, just before. It's like, what are the things that you just put in place, right? Like, we were saying Steve Jobs had black turtlenecks and jeans.
Right.
Right. It works.
That was his
it
thing.
works.
Yeah.
He was like, this is so much easier. I wear the same freaking thing.
Yeah. My heart rate monitor hangs in the exact same place. When I am home, it never leaves that spot.
So
you take it off, you put it in that same spot. I mean,
Yes.
and like Ellen and I have done
That
that.
is
Like
exactly where it
now that
goes.
we're in our home and have been for several months, like things are finding their rhythm in that spot. This goes here and it does not move, so that both of us can find it, right? Because if not, it's some mad dash for like, did you see my? No, we don't want to do that. Like that rhythm and that makes all of the moving pieces of managing a full professional career and managing, your family life and managing your professional life all work. You have to have that consistency.
Because all of those things factor into one of the things that I bet you're always trying to manage is that level of anxiety and what recovery actually looks like. And all of those things are, to me,
Everyone's
they're intentionally
Yeah.
put in place to alleviate those potential anxieties. Because, there's nothing worse than when my heart rate strap isn't on its specific hook and I go to get ready for a ride, and you just like instantly have that level of anxiety, even though like I may have 4 hours blocked off for my ride that's 2 hours, but it's that instant level of like, oh shit, where did it go? Where's it at? And it might be on the hook right next to it, but it's like alleviating those little pieces of anxiety. They end up building up over the course of a week or a month or an entire cross season that can, it can derail so many different things.
We set the important thing. So Dougie Fresh and I, We have whenever we're home, we have the same smoothie every day. And every once in a while, probably about every 6 weeks or so, I say, hey, is the smoothie still good? Like, are we still good with the smoothie? Do we want to mix it up? Right? And it's just this fruit smoothie. It's got coconut milk in it.
Yeah.
It's got a couple other things. It's got some flax, and I sprinkle some cinnamon in. But, the coconut thing was a serious challenge for us when I was first making the smoothie because it always tries to separate. It gets everywhere. It's super messy. And I was pouring it every morning into the smoothie. And I was like, God, this is taking me 5, 6, 7 minutes just dealing with this coconut milk. I want it in my smoothie.
Right.
Game changer, giant ice cube trays.
Ooh.
So I make coconut milk ice cubes.
Look at you. You just shaved.
And then
You just
I just
shaved.
shaved 7 minutes
off
off
your-
my smoothie routine.
2 for 1.
Scientist.
I like that.
Yeah.
Scientist.
But it took me like 8 months to get there, okay?
But you knew there was a problem.
I knew there was a problem.
And you're like, I'm going to creatively solve
and
this.
it's one of these days I'm going to sit down, and it was a thought. But, we have the same smoothie every day. Like, that's the point. It's like nutrition, morning nutrition taken care of.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Check.
You have a routine for that thing, and there's
Yeah.
there's comfort in that routine.
Mm-hmm.
There's also discomfort when you get away from it, but there's a lot of comfort in that.
Yeah, we have
routine.
alternatives for the road.
Sure, but
So.
that when you get back and you get back in that rhythm by Tuesday, right? You're in that space and that feels
Yeah.
good, and you're moving towards that, and then you're prepped to roll into the rest of the week. So that's
Mhm.
awesome. I
Yeah.
think it's an interesting snapshot, and I think this has been a really fun conversation. A little bit about like where Sunny's trajectory was, how she got to where she is now, all your kind of like the life of getting to be where we are now. And I know you have a whole massive story that you want to write in the future, whatever that looks like. But that's something you're building constantly. Obviously you're putting together next year. It sounds like you're going to be racing next year, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But we get to be part of that journey and see where you're headed and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I have one race on the calendar right now already for next year.
Perfect.
Yeah, Alma GP.
Yeah, you got to go to the Alma.
Yeah, you got to go to Alma.
I gotta go.
I
I
promised
gotta go.
them, right?
I gotta go.
I had never been to Rochester, and I was like, I really want to race Rochester. I've never done it. Let's go see. And it just happened. Like, I had been talking to the Alma GP, and I was just like, okay, you guys conflict, but I'll come next year.
There you go. So this
Yeah.
year, Alma GP, Sunny
Yeah.
Gilbert
Yeah.
out at the Alma. I
Heard
think
it
we're
here
going to try
first.
to make it this year.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to this year,
Yeah.
this previous year, but hopefully we'll be
Yeah,
able to.
it's gonna be
this
where
year.
it's at next year.
It's a party for sure. So, well, awesome.
So thanks
Cool.
so much
Yeah.
for taking your
It's been a real
Saturday
pleasure.
morning.
Oh.
And got
Yeah.
to share some local coffee.
Thank you for the coffee.
And Dan, we still love you, but every now and then we have to.
Yeah. So
we have to
here's
cheat on
the
you.
thing, Dan. You can't really appreciate the good things if you don't
Just have some mediocre.
just test other
Right,
things.
right, right.
Try
Up,
others.
up can't exist without down,
Yes.
and Grimpeur Brothers can't exist without
Every-
mediocre coffee.
Right.
Well,
So
coffee we had wasn't bad this morning, but nonetheless,
It was
Right.
good. It was good.
it's actually
Solid.
from a spot here where it's run by a cyclist, so that's kind of cool.
Oh,
We
see?
always down for that.
See,
Bikes,
winning.
coffee,
yeah,
beer,
always
Yeah.
good.
things. So,
Yeah.
well, thanks, Sonny. We really appreciate taking the time. Have a good
My
day
pleasure.
today. Enjoy yourself out there. We'll be watching.
Oh, I will. I'm going to be doing some running later
Yeah.
on.
I believe so.
Some
With
running
the bicycle?
intermixed with some
On-
slipping and sliding. I
On
think.
brand.
Have
Yeah.
you seen the Camel, the mini, what is it, the Mini 180?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty wild.
There's
It's
gonna
pretty
be some
wild,
running
so.
around
Yeah,
that.
there's
for
gonna be
sure.
some running. It's gonna be a nice cross country race for
Yeah.
you today. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to tow spikes.
Well, thanks, Sonny. We appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
So, awesome interview with Sonny. Man, I just kind of like, after editing that, I was like, man, I kind of just miss hanging out with Sonny. Where's
She's
Sonny?
just one of those.
Fun.
I mean, talk about an apropos name.
Yeah.
Like, she's just somebody that lights up any room that she goes in.
Yep.
And it's, so I have a lab at home, and he's always happy. And he's
Yeah.
just always super thrilled to do anything. You want to go on a walk? You want to go on a run? You want to go in a car? You want to go to get, like, coffee? You want to make breakfast? Like, whatever. He's just so excited.
That
to
is
be,
that is a very Murphy trait.
He's just so excited to be alive, and I feel like Sonny is just one of those people that more people need to look at her and how she handles life, how she handles adversity, how she handles everything, and take some notes, take some cues, and just keep smiling. And because there's so many things that she goes through on a weekly basis that would wear people out.
Yeah, but it's just infectious, that like nature that she brings everywhere she goes, and it is one of those things, and one of those people who honestly being around makes you feel good to be around, even if you're not in a great mood.
Right.
Like she just like energizes that room, and I tell you what. This studio, we were laughing our butts off for several hours as we were in here having coffee and talking, and I hope you all enjoyed that. Please go hit her up. Tell her how much you liked it. Go buy her coffee. Go buy her TNR tape. Like, support the things. Do a twirl-off video if you're using TNR this weekend.
Make the smoothie that we posted in the show notes.
Yeah, we're going to post the link to we're going to post the smoothie because we got that in this episode. So, like, make a smoothie. And then tag Sunny on Instagram in your smoothie making, and tag us so that we can like see all your smoothie creations you're making.
Sure. And on top of thanking Sunny for taking her Saturday morning of a C1, the last C1 in the United States, she spent her morning with like us two doofuses. So like, thank you to her. Thank you to Dougie Fresh for getting up stupid early in the morning to go to the venue, and allow this to happen. But always also, thank you to RoadiD for providing this lovely studio space.
Yeah.
Click the link in our show notes to figure out how to save up to 50% on your next RoadiD order. They have their crazy Christmas sale going on, so you can go get just about. I mean, I've seen all kinds of new bands coming out.
I need to hop on that because like I need to get like last year I got my folks RoadiDs.
Yeah.
There are still other stockings that need to be filled.
Correct.
I need to get busy on this.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that tonight.
Yeah.
I think. Yep.
So
I'm going to go do that
too to get it, make sure it gets here in time before
exactly.
Christmas.
And not that they're backed up, but just do it now.
Right.
Just do it right now.
Right.
That way you don't miss it.
It's busy here.
Yeah, it's very busy here. Like people are pulling round the clock shifts.
It's 8 o'clock right now,
and there's still
busy.
Yeah, it's still busy, which is good. Lots of elves doing things.
Yeah. So before we close out today, we want to make sure that you guys got a little something extra from today's episode. So keep listening.
Yeah, absolutely. Go support. Make sure you do this right now. Go support our good friend and longtime supporter of the show, Dan, and the Grimpeur Brothers Coffee. He's provided 2 hand-roasted blends that are exclusively made for pebbles like yourself.
So click the link in our show notes and head to the Grimpeur Brothers website now, or you can go to thewideanglepodium.com and look for the giant Grimpeur Brothers logo.
Yeah, /coffee. That'll get you there, too.
It's easy to find.
It's not hard to miss.
And the 2 blends are the Full Schleck or the Hello Cyclocross Friends Espresso.
Or both. You just get both.
Get all of the coffee.
Or you could also support this week's guest, Sunny. You could do that as well. She has a coffee there.
Also has her own custom Grimpeur Brothers hand-roasted blend that is roasted every single week.
Exactly. And that supports all of those things, the Wide Angle Podium, this show, and Sunny. So get out and do that.
And Doug.
Yes?
We're welcoming a new sponsor this week.
I know. I'm very excited. This has been a lot of fun to put together.
But it's not new to us. Because it
isn't. And I think that's important.
Let's make it weird and say that we've been intimate with this brand.
It's a bit gross, John. This brand has been intimate with me, I think might be the way might be the way to put it in if we were to do it. And that brand is none other than Be Free Ride Bikes apparel.
So Be Free Ride Bikes cycling apparel is something that Doug and I have been training, riding, and commuting in for the last month. 15 months.
Exclusively. Like I am not wearing anything else other than this kit.
Right. And this is one of those things where it's easy to kind of, it's a sponsor, whatever. We bought all of our kit.
Yeah.
Let's make that clear.
So
this is not like we're not getting paid for this. This is like legitimately the best cycling kit I've personally ever worn, and that includes one of those major brands that got bought by Walmart a couple years ago.
But here's the thing. Just like anything that we want to talk about on the show, just like Works, just like Grimpeur Brothers, just like RoadiD, any of this stuff, we believe in this product because we've used it and we have a relationship.
Right.
And
we're
we
not
talk
just
about it.
Yeah, we're not just like hyping it up for the sake of hyping
exactly.
it up. We believe in it.
Exactly. And let's be very clear. Kits have gotten a lot more comfortable than they were before. They're way more technical than they were, like all these technical fabrics, and they've gotten more everything for that matter, including freaking expensive. Yeah. Kit is not cheap to get.
So BFRB aims to change that by cutting out really all of the middlemen in that process. And Adam and his team are able to offer absolutely amazing kits that actually have an attainable price tag.
Yeah, I mean, it's a full offering including jerseys, bibs, shorts, jackets, vests, knickers, warmers, base layers, socks,
chamois cream.
Yeah, all sorts of different things that you could possibly need. And now a full line of winter apparel in a whole bunch of different fit options.
And that's the thing where I think most people get hemmed up is like, well, it's more aero. It's all for roadie kit. Like, no, they have baggies.
Yeah, they got baggies and stuff.
They
but
like, they have club cut. They have race cut. Like
all
that
those
stuff.
different
all
cuts
those
are available.
Right.
And if you need to get custom stuff, they can do all of that for you too. If you're like, what I want is a longer thing because I got a long torso, and you want to build out your own like kit for your team, they will work with you to do all that. They have everything that you need to ride every single day in every condition.
And I think that's really the piece that separates them from a lot of the competition is it's one person working with you, and that's the person who's going to be working with the ultimate vendor making your product.
Bingo.
And if from, us talking about buying our team kit last year, that's exactly how we designed our team kit. Is we picked the front fabric, we picked the rib cage fabric for the jerseys, we picked the back fabric,
and we did it as a team. That was a discussion we had.
Yep.
We said, what did you like about this? What do you like about this? We got samples, we did all that. That process is available for you. So make sure you head on over to bfrbcycling.com and take a look at how they can help you and your entire team and all your friends and everyone you know get outfitted to look dope as hell in 2020.
That's a nice transition to this next one.
Absolutely.
Hand Up Gloves, offering you amazing gloves, apparel, and just awesome folks, and really adds to rounding out that looking
like straight up. I look dope in my Lycra,
right,
and all of like but when I'm on my mountain bike, I look dope as well because I'm in dope flannels with dope gloves. And my gloves follow me across all of my dope looks. I think I just wear them at my desk.
Whatever.
Typing.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta
cold
live
in my office.
You just
sometimes.
gotta live in the flannel and wear gloves at the office.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Safety. It's cold and flu season.
Safety third.
So click the link in our show notes and use code Pebble $sign at checkout to save 20% off everything in their online store. And now for all of the people who who are not satisfied with having one expensive hobby in bikes.
Yeah.
If you are into that other hobby of hitting a ball into a hole on some fields before they become cyclocross courses.
Exactly.
Hand Up Gloves is now making golf apparel.
And it's dope, and it like totally fits the aesthetic of golf right now. Like, and it's totally hand up style, and it's very fun.
Yes.
And it makes me very happy to see. Like, I think someone in my family may be getting hand up golf gloves.
Have to.
Yeah, it's gonna have to happen.
Mandatory.
I got some golfers around, so it's gonna.
I do too.
I think it's gonna have to happen.
I might have to. I don't know if mine are up for that.
I don't care.
Level
they're
of
just
swagger,
gonna.
But they're gonna have to deal with it.
They're gonna have to get down with this swag.
Right.
It's gonna happen. It's another gravel lot Christmas. Yes. Around my house. So go to BFRB and go to Hand Up and get everybody outfitted. Go to RoadiD, get everybody sorted out, get them some coffee.
Get your resolutions for 2020 and look good.
And if they don't want to do any of those things, get them coffee because then everyone likes coffee or whatever. We have a full spectrum for your holiday gifts right here on the gravel lot. Also, you can go check out our great friends at Knox Gear. You can stay safe this winter.
It's dark out.
Real dark.
All the time. I go to work. It's dark. I come home from work. It's dark. The only time I go see the sun is when I go outside for lunch. It's real sad. My Knox Gear makes me happy when I take Murphy on a run because I can turn it on like disco mode.
Exactly. So you can use their Tracer 360 vest for yourself or keep your fur baby safe with their Lighthound vest. Both of them are crazy bright using super awesome fiber optics and LED technology.
Every time I run with one of these, so I run around my neighborhood, and we're starting to add miles because I haven't ridden a bike in a month, so I have to do something.
Yep.
Every single time I run, somebody stops me and says, "What is that? Where do I get it?"
That's awesome. And then you're like, and then what do you tell them, John?
And I tell them,
I have this podcast. Can I explain it to you?
Well, I try and do it shorter than that. I tell them, go to knoxgear.com, use code Pebbles.
That's really easy.
And that's really all that I like. Beyond that, they're just like, oh, I get a discount as well. You don't have to tell them what the discount is, but we'll tell you that it's 35%.
That's a crazy
your
discount.
order.
And it is that time of year. If you do not have one of these, it literally makes running and riding outside in this time of life way more enjoyable.
And it's the one thing I think that I've added to my winter running that actually makes me feel better about doing it. Like gloves, hoodies, all of that technical gear, all that stuff, it's fine for running. I'm not out for like 2 hours at a time. But feeling safe, feeling visible, this stuff is visible from a half mile. I guess we'd have to, like, we should actually test it.
Space.
We should go, like...
It's visible from space.
Okay. Well, we should still go to the bike trail and just, like...
see how far we can see each other?
See how far it takes before, like, we can't see each other.
Okay, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
We could
do that on bikes. It'd be quick.
Evening ride. We can go do that. That's right by our house.
Right. But the cool thing is, whether it's running or not, you can still wear it. We have listeners who are buying this for riding.
Absolutely.
Commuting.
That's why I'm...
Safety.
I'm safety third. I mean first. Safety first. So go, knoxgear.com, use code PEBBLES, save yourself 35%.
Everything first. Coffee first.
All
Kit
of it.
first. Gloves first.
Absolutely.
Safety first. Everything first.
Everything first.
If you're not first, you're last.
That's what they say.
And last but certainly not least, do not forget, as we mentioned in the opener, to become a Wide Angle Podium member today, and it will give you exclusive access to bonus content that can only be found by becoming a member, again, of the Wide Angle Podium network of shows.
Yeah, whatever, above all else, that you take home today, we want you to understand how thankful we are for giving TGL a chance, listening to our conversations, as crazy as they are, even our weird ad roll, and engaging in this process, because we cannot do what we do if we don't have listeners. So share this with a friend. If you found it powerful or important or funny, share it. That's all we really ask you to do in the long term. You don't got to buy all this stuff. We appreciate it. It helps run the show.
Yeah.
But share this with other people.
Yeah, and we love hearing from you guys, whether it's meeting you at a gravel event or next year BC bike race for Doug, you and your partner, and I know you're very excited about it, or just getting that feedback on social media or the
shares, likes, retweets, whatever.
Anywhere. It's just, man, it's. I'll reiterate
it's
Doug, what you said. It's like, thank you so much for giving us a chance and engaging in this and making us feel like what we're doing is actually getting somewhere.
Yeah. So tag us at the gravel lot pretty much everywhere or whatever, and you can get a hold of us through all those mediums.
Right. Incoming
mail is good,
or through the website.
Correct.
At thegravelot.com. And just hearing from you guys makes our day brighter. And
awesome.
That actually just reminded me that now that talking about the website, I have a bunch of updates that I need to make.
John, do you have things? John's got work to do. Don't worry. We both have plenty of work to be doing.
Yes.
Including some people who we know who are doing some work. Our good friends who do our intro and outro music, Undertipper. They are amazing. We know they're hard at work on some new stuff. So go over to undertipper.bandcamp.com and thank them for supporting the show by purchasing their music. That is a wrap for today. As we say each and every week, decisions and trails are made by those who show up. So if we don't see you on the trails this week, we'll see you next time. Bye, John.
Bye, Doug.